Hello and welcome to the Workouts for Older Men podcast. I am Skip LaCour. So glad you are joining me for this podcast. In today's podcast, I want to talk about TRT, Testosterone Replacement Therapy. All right, testosterone replacement therapy. If you look on the internet, the fitness channels, probably even the more serious, more dedicated fitness channels, even slightly older. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about a 55-year-old or a 65-year-old, even as like 35-year-old in the fitness influencer social media space. There's a lot of talk about TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. So I want to give you my take because I work with so many men who are older all over the world, all different levels of experience in the gym, all different goals, outcomes that they want. And I've been in this fitness industry for 34 years at this point. So see how it all evolved being a competitive drug-free bodybuilder. It gives me a perspective. And of course, being aware in a bodybuilding about the drug use. So I'm talking from my perspective, and I'm just going to tell you, my perspective, just like everybody else, is bias. Right? Regardless of what they say, hey, this is science and this is science backed. I mean, just look, again, I refer back to the pandemic and the seriousness of the black and white scientific opinions that seem to be all over the place. All right? It made me wake up to there's a lot of bias in science. All right? So I'm telling you my bias, so no matter how certain and confident, even your doctor might be, and certainly in this TRT space, testosterone replacement therapy, where there are clinics, it's not as regulated where a doctor and it has to necessarily describe it. Right? It's a money-making business, and anytime there's money involved, there's going to be biased, and whatever answer you give, right? So I just want to be open. Again, I deal with so many people. A lot of people, me being older, me being into fitness, they want to know my opinion. I'm going to give you my opinion and my biased opinion and my limited opinion. And so this is a podcast link that when I get asked this question dozens of times every few months, I can just link this. So I'll be thorough. And these are my thoughts as of today. All right, the date of the post of this podcast. All right, so we know as older men, and if you are, the more serious you are on social media, the more talk that'll be about how our testosterone levels, how they decrease as we age. Now, how much they decrease and how soon that starts and how much of an impact that has on building muscle, losing body fat, and other things, your peace of mind, your mood, your sex drive, all those type of things. You know, those things aren't as clear-cut and black and white. There's a lot of gray area of when older starts, when it's needed, how much you should take, and all that. All right. Okay, so replacing those testosterone levels through hormones, through injections. All right. So here's my personal situation is that, you know, I've been doing this for a while, pushing myself to a high level. I'm meeting my goals, especially at my age, as building muscle and losing body fat. Have I noticed that's a little tougher now that I'm older? You know, I'm not sure. Maybe my demand, maybe my expectations are different than somebody else's. I'm fine. I know what to do. I know how much I have to do. And it comes down to how badly I want it. All right. But there's not a big mystery. And, you know, I don't feel this big drop off. That's one thing, too. You know, I talk about a lot of things with your eating and your working out. Things happen gradually. So testosterone levels, they could happen so gradually. Some people may not know that how much they're dropping, or it isn't making that much of a noticeable difference, especially when you know about how to train and eat. Now, that's what I want to help you with. If you want to speed up that process, then come see me, come talk to me about one-on-one coaching. I do that phone coaching for men just like you all over the world, right? In a previous podcast, I talked about all the different ways to boost your testosterone naturally. And I talked about over-the-counter, where you can buy legally with no prescription, or any that testosterone boosters on the shelf, their effectiveness, in my opinion, All right, I'll link that podcast to this one in the description. All right. So when this first started, testosterone replacement, and years ago, I would have rather younger men. They in my local gym, and they would talk about how they went to get their testosterone. This is when there was clinics. It wasn't. Well, I'm not even sure how much it's regulated now. There was a local guy, really great guy, who used to, and I know him, after my bodybuilding career around town. Nice guy, and he has a couple clinics in L.A. and Dallas and things like that, right? In that area, and I guess he does really well for the business. But he was local, and so when men went there, this was it's probably getting close to 20 years ago, right after I finished competing bodybuilding, and again, so he was the guy who supplied and taught the drug bodybuilders how to use the drugs. All right. And I got into a discussion about TRT. Now, number one, he was so against TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, to have anything to do with muscle building or cosmetic. It was totally about longevity, quality of life. He thought, using drugs, these drugs, just for building muscle and losing body fat was ridiculous. And again, he, and as far as I know, still runs these clinics, right? One other thing about him, he says, yeah, some men need it, especially men who use steroids in the past. The depression, I remember that made a big statement, that the depression that they go through, not to mention the bodily function because of all the steroids and hormones that they took, and TRT for them. All right, but there was a lot of guys who would come to me, local guys, in casual conversation, and they would say they got their testosterone checked, and at that time it seemed like whoever they saw, and I don't think they necessarily saw this gentleman that I know, they would say, you have the testosterone levels, and at that time the phrase that many of them said, it was like the buzz phrase sell word to get them convince them to go on this TRT. Is that you have the testosterone levels of an 80-year-old man, right? I mean, what younger guy wants to be told that by a person of authority, right? You've got the testosterone levels of the 80-year-old man. I'll tell you, because that, I never wanted to know my testosterone. And that gentleman friend, he said, because I was drug-free bodybuilder, that would be a big swing. So if all of a sudden I had this great physique, or as I got older, that wouldn't be good for my brand. Oh, I was drug-free before, but I look this great now because I'm on TRT. That isn't what I want to do. So here's my bias. I didn't want that mixing up, especially when I'm happy with the way that I look, even here at 61 and a half years old. And I'm not afraid to do the work, and to me, it's efficient use. So I don't feel I'm lacking there, all right? So he wanted me to check it. I said, I never wanted to know. And I still do not know my testosterone levels now. All right. Okay. So got a lot of men ask me the question. So I've answered this question many times. I would send out an email and just say 6,000 all older men on my email list. And I would say, these are my thoughts on testosterone. I mean, every time I send it out, there would be at least, 5 or 6 men who would immediately email me. I don't know if they necessarily even listened to my podcast or the blog post or video I made. Tell them not to do that. Tell them not to do that. All right. And they talked about their medical conditions. Now, I do know that because I'm observing on the internet, and it's the fitness influencers as young as 35. All right. What you're going to be sold as, hey, without testosterone, you're not going to be healthy. This is just it's like a vitamin. It's not drug. It's just replacing it to its normal levels. Normal levels for a 25-year-old, not a normal level. It's not even anymore where, I don't know, if I'm 35 years old, it should be at this level. I'm bringing it back to my 35-year-old standard. They're not saying that. They're saying, I'm 35, and why not just take it to my 25-year-old standard or my 20-year-old standard? All right, so, and it's just natural, and this isn't like using steroids. And they'll say a lot of times, well, my doctor prescribed it. It's not even really a doctor who prescribes it a lot of times, right? Here's the thing is, with all of us, right? Once you've committed, and you're an influencer, once you've committed to the decision of using, that's just life, and we do it all the time. Once you've committed, you're going to look for all the reasons to substantiate, to validate that opinion, that action that you took, and you're going to block out all the downside. You know, I was online, and because I would get asked this a lot, and so I would be lives on TikTok or whatever, and there was a couple times where they knew me. Certainly this one time I remember, oh, Skip. And I asked him, what is the downside? And he genuinely looked into the camera. I don't know of any downside to it. All right. And the other gentleman, same thing. Like, really, and that's just how the human brain, once you make a commitment, right, you know the risk and you make the commitment, you block out the downside. All right. I use COVID as an example that made me think about science and if it's so black and white, because I'll tell you this, I mean, whether you're vaccinated or not, all right, both sides you were an idiot to get vaccinated. You were an idiot not to get vaccinated. And they are both shown the science or the lack thereof of science. Okay, now it's years later, right? Oh, that was a mistake. No, nobody's going to come back if they give you bad information. All right, you got to make this decision yourself. I'm just throwing things, my perspective, to go along with your decision, especially at this age. You're a grown man. You can make those decisions yourself. All right. I did hear about one of the downsides, because I tell you, when someone has cancer, you know, the people who are pro TRT, they say, oh, that was existing, that was already happening. And again, I don't know what the answer is, but I did hear that paramedics, I mentioned this on the other podcast, when a man has a cardiac heart issue and he's even a little bit muscular, the first thing they ask them is if they're on TRT, or testosterone replacement. All right. I just kind of heard that on the internet, but I'm all over the internet. And I was talking on my son's baseball game, and I was in the crowd, and I just said that. But one of the dads I was talking to, I know him as a baseball dad. He's a paramedic for San Francisco, a big city, and he said that's true. Right? So you're not going to hear that on the internet, right? And again, I see maybe a couple influencers, they're anti-TRT. That's their unique selling point. All right. And once they've committed that way, then they're going to find all the reasons. So you got to remember that as you take in all that information, even the information that I'm giving you. I'll tell you, my take from my experience, my viewpoint of the world, my unique way of interest is about personal development, mind power, our ability to become the best we could do, keep on driving, to be resourceful, to be gritty, to get through the down times in life with a positive attitude. Mindset. That's what I've been obsessed with. My personal opinion, I can't read everybody's mind and their intentions, but besides the muscle building, besides the fat loss, life is tough. And what I see is the grind of not just working out and business and the ups and downs of life. What I think the biggest attraction, it isn't about the muscle. It's not about fat. It's about the aggressiveness, the peace of mind, the mind boosting performance, the life. If it was a sports performance, life performance, a drug, get more out of you, more energy, more productivity to take care of your family and handle stress. I personally get that's the biggest benefit out of it. I think whether you're on TRT or not, come see me. Right? I want to help you get the most out of whatever decision you make with the right eating or the right training, and doing some of these things I talked about, how to boost it naturally. Right? So that's my take. I don't have any personal experience. I just want to be open and honest about that. And also, I haven't dug deep at the so-called data and science to make my supposedly unbiased opinion after reading the science. All right, I think we've talked about that a lot. So for whatever it's worth, that's my opinion. Hopefully that's helpful. You're a grown man. Got to make these decisions yourself, just like if you did the vaccine or not. You're either happy or sad that you did or not, or maybe don't even think about it. This is just more information coming from my perspective dealing with some older men. So I hope that helps you. All right, so let's take on the day with a sense of urgency. We have to when we're a little bit older. We've got more time behind us than we do in front of us. Have a great day.